I feel like in the Western world, often people think that skincare that hurts your face, skincare that has very heavy actives, is what can heal your skin. And we are trying to share that skin health is actually holistic, right? It's how you treat your body holistically, externally, and internally, most importantly, because skin is a manifestation of how you treat your body.
Hey guys, welcome back everyone. Today's guests are twin sisters who turned their shared roots and radically different careers into one of the most thoughtful skin and ritual brands out there, Moonbow Skin. Felice is a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. Heather came from the world of finance, and together they've created something so uniquely East meets West. What I especially love, we all grew up in Hong Kong, and we've all spent time in LA and New York, so this conversation felt extra personal, like catching up with old friends who just happen to be total wellness nerds as well. If you've ever been curious about gua sha, sea beauty, or how to actually treat your skin like a living, breathing organ, this episode is for you. Hey guys, and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we have Felice and Heather. You are all over my Instagram feed. Both of you, Felice, Heather, individually, and then together as Moonbow Skin. But I love it, and I'm learning so much from you guys, and I love your journey. So you guys are identical twins with wildly different backgrounds and grew up in Hong Kong. Can you share a bit more about your personal journey with me and how you built Moonbow together?
Yeah. Should I start?
Yeah.
Also, thank you for having us.
Yeah, this is
I'm so happy to start, and please feel free to just interrupt me if you want to say something. But I would say our journeys were very different in the beginning. We didn't know that we wanted to start something together. I think when we grew up in Hong Kong, we both went to the US for college. We actually weren't planning to go to the same school, but we ended up going to the same school in this small, tiny liberal arts school in Maine, 1,200
Oh,
kids all four
amazing.
years. So that was a big cultural shock, I'd say, from lifestyle to food habits to eating processed foods. So at that time, Felice was studying to become a Western medicine doctor, and she spent a couple years in the hospital after graduation. Then I ended up in private equity for 7 years. So she went through her whole journey that she can share. But my personal journey is that I was in private equity for 7 years. And yes, while I learned a lot, it just felt very unfulfilling. And during that time, I dealt with a lot of debilitating gut issues. And so that was the main health issue that I was dealing with that I often ignored as something that was normal and a normal lifestyle and something that I felt like was normal to feel every single day until COVID hit. And that's when I realized that I had to get my lifestyle back in track. So that's actually when I went to Felice to help with solutions to heal. So I went to a Western medicine doctor, got tested for all types of intolerances to celiacs, everything, you name it. And the only advice they gave me was that I had IBS. So that was just their cop out solution in saying, you have a problem, but I can't really fix it. So my
Hmm.
solution was that I wrote a journal every single day for 365 days on everything I ate and did process of elimination of trying to figure out what it was, but it was more than that. So like going back to traditional Chinese medicine, Felice taught me and just helped remind me about all the foods and herbs that are so nourishing for you, and also practicing mindfulness, which is a big pillar in traditional Chinese medicine. And so that was the journey that healed me. And because of this power, that's how we decided to start Moonbow. But I'll pause because Felice's story is the other half.
And I mean, as Heather said, I actually had a background in Western medicine. I studied neuroscience. I was the pre-med track, and it was almost all I knew about medicine growing up, even though in Hong Kong, as I'm sure you know, the closest clinic is still a Western clinic, and to find Chinese medicine you have to find your auntie or uncle in Causeway Bay or Central,
Hmm.
so it wasn't the trajectory of education. But when I was at the hospital, I went through my own spiritual awakening, my own understanding of holistic health. And I was like, okay, this is not for me. And so I did a 180. I withdrew all my applications from traditional allopathic med schools in the US. And then I applied to Chinese medicine school. And that's when I moved out to Los Angeles. And I loved it. I did a 4 years master's program and a year-long doctorate before opening my clinic. And when that time occurred, Heather and I were like, okay, we're ready to join forces to create something that we both are passionate about, which is Chinese medicine. And like throughout my studies and my journey too, I also had my health issues. I had pretty debilitating acne right before my wedding
Would
because of birth
not be
control
able to
use.
tell.
Oh my gosh, it was a journey. But I think through that time, I learned so much about skincare, not just a Chinese medicine role of it, which was very much ingrained in how I was seeing it. I cleared my acne through Chinese medicine, through herbs, acupuncture, lifestyle, didn't take any pharmaceuticals for it, but also played around with so much skincare to see what worked for my face. I did all of the stripping, benzoic acids, to all the facials, to all the peels, and that didn't work for me until I realized, okay, Chinese medicine herbs is what's gonna heal my skin because it's nourishing, it protects your barrier, hence why Moonbow was birthed from us too.
Wow, I
Yes.
love that story. And I think that that's really similar to my story on how I got into traditional Chinese medicine as well. And it really comes from your own personal journey. And for me, it was nasal allergies. So when I moved back from New York to Hong Kong, I had really bad nasal allergies. And I think I, so I went to see 1,000 like ENT doctors, and then they were just like, we're going to try on this dosage and try this medicine and try this steroid, spray, nasal spray.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would just go see him every 3 months and he would just readjust my formula and
Yeah.
dosage. And after a while, you're like, this is the same thing over and over again. And would just self-prescribe and I would just go to, like a local pharmacy and I would just like pick it up. And I was doing that for like close to 10 years since I got moved back. And it wasn't until I was pregnant that decided, hey, something has got to change. But in the process, I tried bioresonance therapy. I tried all these different things that just didn't work. And that sort of reallows you to go and dig deeper into what we grew up with, right? And sometimes you lose touch with that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I totally agree with that. I think us starting Moonbow as a traditional Chinese medicine skincare line also helps us get back to our roots and, helps us remember how special our history is and how we grew up. And, ironically, when we were growing up in Hong Kong, and maybe you also understand that, I think personally for me, like I wasn't confident about sharing Chinese culture. You would be made fun of all the American expats who came in who would make fun of some form of culture from food to, what you did in your lifestyle that made me somehow shy and embarrassed with my culture. Not only until I moved to the US did I realize, wow, like our culture is so powerful. I want to be so proud of it. And that's why I want to share something that's so special.
Yeah, and I mean,
Absolutely.
similarly, I think Heather and I couldn't have done college in Maine without each other because, I mean, of the pure basis of, there's two of us, we're able to embrace our culture together because then I think we would have felt even more ostracized. But also, I wanted to add that, studying Chinese medicine and creating Moonbow together just almost like reinvigorates. Okay, there's a reason why our grandmother said, don't go to bed with wet hair. There's a reason why our mom would give us, tongs or soups every single day. And it all makes sense because of the herbal benefits and the Chinese medicine practices that now is scientifically proven to be amazing for your body.
Yeah, I think that's very similar to me. I think that, you don't really think about all the different soups and teas that, your grandparents or parents might be boiling, right? And it was just part of your daily life. And
Yeah.
especially with like the warm and cold foods, it'd be like, don't eat too much lychee. It's so heaty. And I'm like, why? But it's
Mm-hmm.
cold, right? I mean, and
Yeah.
all these things that it's just innate in you that you know that that's heaty or, hot pot, it's too much and you have to go drink this afterwards.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of funny, but I love that now being a mother and me trying to instill that into my children so that they're not completely just relying on as they make medicine so yummy, right? And so they're like, oh, I want to have that cherry medicine because my throat is, itchy. You're like, no, but I'm going to boil you this pear tea that I grew up with. And you don't think about it. But
Yeah.
there's something about reconnecting with your roots. And I think, Felice, you said that now that it's evolved and there's science and, backing it,
Yeah.
right? Why these herbs are so powerful. Yeah, I would love to talk more about sort of Western skincare versus TCM based skincare. How can you walk us through that?
Yeah, absolutely. So Moonbow, it is a Chinese medicine inspired skincare line. However, we also do have some amazing Western ingredients in it because our whole antithesis, and our whole thesis behind, Moonbow is to combine East and West to make it so that it's not so jarring and new to everyone here in the Western world. But it's like, okay, how can we introduce Chinese herbs in a gentle and effective way, but also keep the niacinamide, the hyaluronic acid, and what people know as the buzzwords for skincare. And I think the difference is Chinese herbs are holistic, right? They are in the skincare to nourish your skin, but these are all herbs that we grew up eating in our foods, in our soups, but also as herbal medicine. So to have it super powerful for your body internally also helps with external issues, whether it's inflammation, redness, acne. And as you know, every herb has a temperature, it has a function. And so it's very much catered to specific issues, but also based on an individual. So we were creating a skincare line that is mostly great for everyone to help create this glow, to help with the skin barrier. Whereas I think, Western science-based skincare, it's very much about clinical research, right? They run trials. It's, phase 3 randomized placebo controlled. But again, that's a specific cohort. It's very much segmented, whereas Chinese medicine is based off of thousands of years of experiential medicine. So how can we combine this, two worlds of science and make it make sense?
Yeah, and I feel like in the Western world, often people think that skincare that hurts your face, skincare that has very heavy actives is what can heal your skin. And we are trying to share that skin health is actually holistic, right? It's how you treat your body holistically, externally, and internally, most importantly, because skin is a manifestation of how you treat your body. It's the biggest organ. And the principle of traditional Chinese medicine is holistic health. So how can we share the benefits of how to treat your skin from that standpoint? And traditional Chinese medicine isn't an easy medicine to understand. And to the Western world, it's a very hard medicine to practice and to understand. So Felice and I are trying to find a very easy way to educate consumers, to make it accessible. So Felice actually coined what TCM is in 4 pillars, but you should share that. I think it's so brilliant.
Whether I coined it or not, it's based off, learning in med school. But I think, over so much, or so many reels and videos that we made, we're like, okay, how do we break it down into 4 buckets or 4 pillars? And we have figured out that it makes sense that Chinese medicine has one bucket, which is acupuncture and acupressure. I think a lot of people in the US find Chinese medicine because of acupuncture through the medical system. The second branch is herbs, right? But mostly herbal formulas. All of the patented formulas, all the formulas that you would either boil in a tea or take in a powdered form with 10 to 15 herbs. The third bucket, or the third pillar, is food as medicine. So the soups that we would drink, the lychee that we wouldn't eat when we have itchy skin, those things that our parents used to tell us but ingrained in our culture. And then the fourth pillar is truly the lifestyle that emphasizes mindfulness and understanding that our body reacts to stress, that we do need these yin moments and these quiet moments to regulate our nervous system. And I think all 4 pillars kind of encompass what Chinese medicine is as a lifestyle, but also a medicine.
Yeah, I love that. I thank you for distilling that for me. And I think that even growing up in Hong Kong, I do think that TCM is very hard to understand, right? And you don't realize there are different buckets, right? And that they're all encompassing, and then they overlap, and then it really, being in the US, and I also went to a liberal arts college in LA.
Wait, Claremont? Pomona?
Yeah, I went to Claremont McKenna.
Heather was about to go, actually.
It was either
really?
Claremont.
And then the international population was so small that people thought I was from Japan. It was really sad. And I felt
Everyone
so
thinks that
out
you're
of
from
work.
Japan.
They're like, "Can you speak Japanese?" I was like, "No."
Yeah.
I was like, "No, Hong Kong is not in Japan."
Yeah, I feel like
We need
we
to have a separate
have
conversation about this.
we have experienced the same things growing up in Hong Kong and moving to the US, of all the so-called maybe appropriation that has happened.
Yeah, no, and then also just a side note, but you go and then you sort of, for me, I think I lost a little bit of touch with like my Chinese culture because you want your soups and teas, and I'd be like, guys, I want like something soupy at the end of the day anything
Yeah.
actually. And then people are like, what? That's so weird. Let's have a burger. Or,
A
why would you want
smoothie.
something soupy at the end of like drinking all this stuff, right? You want more liquid? I was like, yeah, I do. I want it soupy. And it is such a weird thing.
And
Anyways, that's,
and yeah, but like speaking of soups, and I think that's why I had such bad debilitating gut issues, is that we grew up every single night in Hong Kong from first grade to 12th grade, we had broth soup every single dinner that
Yeah.
our family would make. And we didn't realize until, coming to the US that this soup was so nourishing for my gut especially, that created a lining that made my gut so much stronger to be able to absorb all the nutrients and break down all the foods. And then when I went to the US, I stopped drinking this soup. And so all the nutrients that I was able to absorb was no longer there. Then I started eating processed foods and was a lot more stressed, started drinking a lot, and just created a completely different lifestyle that was just so harmful for my body. So sorry, that was a side note.
No,
yeah,
but I
no,
love that. I mean, it's super
yeah, I
important.
love that.
It's so funny because like my Western brain is going, oh yeah, it makes so much sense because digestive enzymes can only, really flourish when it's 37, 38 Celsius or like 98 Fahrenheit. So if you're not warming your body before eating, it cannot absorb nutrients. And the other aspect of, okay, the processed foods and the gut lining being destroyed and our gut being our second skin. I mean, it all makes sense from the Eastern perspective and Western. But it's just like, how do we integrate it now to make it make sense for all the consumers here?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the East meets West is so important. And I love that that's really making its moment now. And I think that when I look back at, say, my parents and my grandparents, the grandparents were like Eastern, very like all about tradition, right? But when it came to my parents, they were more actually skeptics. They were like, does TCM work? Is it safe? We're going to fully lean into Western. And that's really, they made me question a lot about it, actually. And then when it came to my generation, it was like, how can you piece both together? Because I think you have all these ancient traditions that work, but how do you bring science into the conversation? How do we prove that it works, right? And I think it's the best of both worlds together for me.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you so eloquently said that. I mean, for both Heather and I, exactly the same trajectory and understanding of it. I remember even when I went to Chinese medicine school, it took my parents a little bit to be okay with it. More so because of the stability of career, but also they were skeptical because they were, the immigrant mentality of the Western world, the American dream of you have to go to the US, you have to go to an American, med school so you can make money because we sacrifice so much so you could live in the US. And then for me to do a 180 and go back to Chinese medicine, they're like, why? And I mean, they eventually came around to it and understood it their own way. And now they're, extremely proud and happy. But I think it's just definitely a shift in mindset. But I love how like our generation now is how can we mesh this together? How can we share the wisdoms that are so beneficial for us that the rest of the world would love as well?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so also, Heather, I watched your TikTok video and congratulations, guys, on being accepted into
Thank
Tower 28's
you.
beauty program. That's amazing. That's major. I wanted you guys to walk through your product development and how did you pick these 3 products? And yeah, I would just love to learn more about that.
Well, thank you so much on congratulating us. It was actually my vision board in January. So manifestations do actually work. I mean, but it comes with hard work and everything too. But I just find that really funny. And I guess regarding our formulations, when Felice and I were discussing what kind of products to launch, we wanted to create, I think it was very obvious to us that we actually wanted to create a very simple routine. We didn't want to go and create a face oil. We didn't want to create, a gua sha tool as our first core, but we wanted to create a 3-step routine that was core to Moonbow because number one, we wanted to simplify routine and make it accessible through traditional Chinese medicine, right? So how can we make a very simple 3-step routine for someone who doesn't know skincare and for someone who doesn't know traditional Chinese medicine? That's how we decided on a cleanser, a serum, to strengthen the barrier, a cleanser to wash away the impurities from the day but keep your face really hydrated, and then a moisturizer that locks it all in, that is very luminizing, helps with brightening your face and fine lines. And then obviously Felice, as a doctor of traditional Chinese medicine, created a formulation of 5 to 8 different TCM herbs in each of her formulations that also coupled Western ingredients that are so true to core that everyone loves in the US, like hyaluronic acid and niacinamide. And like, please feel free to interrupt, but the combination of these herbs is what makes it so powerful. And like as a Chinese medicine doctor and acupuncturist, it's you don't give someone just one herb, but you have to give them a combination to create that
Like,
overall effect that is much more impactful internally as well externally. And so when we also thought about, okay, which ingredient do we want to highlight, we decided on wild chrysanthemum, zhuhua, because we also grew up drinking it during dim sum, and it's super anti-inflammatory inside and also externally. So we wanted to highlight that as our hero ingredient that's actually in all our products. Such a beautiful herb, and we drink it for teas all the time. So hopefully through education, people will understand how powerful of an herb it is.
Yeah, I also wanted to add, I mean, as you said it, Heather, you know, you never give one herb at a time. As a Chinese medicine doctor, I would never advise take a ginseng supplement because ginseng is very hot. And if you take it as a supplement and people tend to take it for, you know, years, it's going to cause more imbalances. And so the combination of herbs is particularly chosen for each formula to help balance it out, right? And to give you the most effect. And so that's what our goal was with the 3 SKUs, the cleanser, the serum, the moisturizer, and then everything working together with the Western ingredients too. And that was really, really fun to create. And also choosing wild chrysanthemum as our hero. I think it made perfect sense because I think it's a good understanding of, hey, this herb is something that we drank all the time, so it's internal, but also has external benefits. And there's so much modern research now that shows that it's, you know, the power herb for the skin because of its high beta carotene component that is a precursor to vitamin A, great for fine lines, inflammation, but also used traditionally for boils, for sores, to heal the skin, to help with acne as well. And so everything is finally coming together. It's the East meets West.
I love that. And when you're formulating, what's sort of your no compromise moment in that development?
Yeah, we believe that we want to be a very gentle and effective brand that pulls in clean ingredients. So in the US, there's a lot of clean standards, and to be Sephora clean and also Credo clean is one of the higher standards of cleanliness. And so it's sourcing our herbs with efficacious vendors. It's putting in ingredients that are non-comedogenic, but technically from a legal terms, we can't really say that because we need clinical testing. But what we can say is that our products and our ingredients don't clog pores. So we want to be super gentle and also a product that people can use who have inflammation on skin, who have eczema, who have acne, who have psoriasis. And so I think that was our basis of being a very clean brand that is also very gentle to cater towards as many skin types as possible. And as you know, being a skincare brand is also so hard because everyone's skin is so different and everyone's opinions are so subjective. And to be able to create a skincare line that can cater towards everyone's opinions is so hard, but we still want to be that brand, right? Because we want to share these herbs and these powers of this medicine. So that was our intention.
That's amazing. I love how simple it is. And for me, in my skincare routine, I feel like less is more. And actually, that's what we believe in at Nucci too, right? It's so important to simplify routines because everybody has so many different things. And when you watch TikTok, you're like, you have influencers that are like, first you do this, then this, then this, then this. And I'm like, I don't have time for all of this. And which one goes first? And I forgot one step. I feel like to really reconnect and have your self-care work into your routines is so important, right?
Yeah, exactly. And with every order that we send out, you know, of our 3 products, we always send out chrysanthemum tea as well, because we're encouraging this holistic healing journey, you know, put a nice, beautiful yellow chrysanthemum flower in hot water and drink it as a tea and then put on skincare. And so that incentivizes, okay, this is time for my nervous system to reset. And that's how we're trying to do a holistic, you know, mind, body, soul transformation with Moonbow.
Amazing. And when I'm on your channels again, I know that you do a lot of the gua sha videos, and I love that because I think you get so many different people gua shaing with different methods. And I watched your recent tips and your sort of like pre-gua sha routine. As a mom that already feels like, hey, I made time for gua sha and I now need to pre-gua sha. I have to do like the pre-gua sha thing. What do you think about that? I've already made time for gua sha and I need to do a pre-gua sha routine. If I had to pick one thing, what would that be?
Oh, I love that you asked this question. I think, we do have to preface that, gua sha takes time. And the whole point of gua sha is that it increases qi and blood circulation. And I was actually, thinking about this before. What is gua sha? Gua is to scrape, sha is that redness that comes out, right? And so traditionally, gua sha was used on the body therapeutically to help with body aches, help with immunity, to help expel colds, sore throats, everything about health on the body. But through the shift of modern understanding of beauty, it's now gua sha for the face. So how can we still emulate what gua sha is therapeutically for the face? And the whole basis of it is that it helps qi and blood circulation. So as long as we're encouraging you to touch your face, whether with your hands, with a gua sha tool, and obviously activating acupressure points will be more effective because you're activating the energetic channels that, connect with the rest of the body. That is the best to do. But again, it's all about time. We're busy. Do it a couple times a week. As long as you're touching your face, it's the best thing you can do.
Okay, that's really helpful, because I feel like it's a win that I do any of it at all.
I have a hack for gua sha, and I don't know if Felice agrees with me, but I do it in the shower because it's warm, so I can warm up my gua sha, and it's a ritual that I can do right before I step out of it. Like when I put my face wash on, that's when I massage my face, and it's worked.
Yeah, I like that. Okay,
And it saves
thank you.
It saves time because I work out in the morning, then I go to then I shower, and so that's when I do the gua sha.
Okay.
I think the only
thanks for the tip. I need that.
And I mean, and even sometimes oils, right? People are like, gua sha with an oil so it can, seep into your skin. But a lot of people break out with oils because oils are most of the time thicker than our own oil, which clogs the pores. So it's really hard to encourage or share oils that work for everyone, if that makes sense. Or some people would have to wash the oils off after a gua sha routine so they don't break out. So it gets a little bit complex.
Yeah, totally. And as we're all aging, I mean, you guys are way younger than me, but over the years of, our 20s to 30s, and for me, I think it was a really shift when I would turn 40, and I was like, oh my God, I feel like my fine lines, and I totally understand what people are talking about now. How have you seen your skin shifting from your 20s to 30s, and what are the things you're doing in this shift?
Yes, it's interesting because I actually also was thinking about this the other day about aging and what it means in Chinese medicine. And as women age, or men as well, we lose the yin, right? This moistening, nourishment, liquid portion of our body. It's us getting dry, essentially. It's us losing blood, right? Because we're women, we bleed, we have to replenish it. It's all part of our kidney essence, all this vitality we have as women. And so the way that I've seen it as I get older is my skin is just drier, right? So how can we nourish and keep up the fluid and the yin that we're missing through skincare, but also through eating skincare, like eating foods good for our skin? Not physical, but...
And Heather?
I think it's a lot about diet and lifestyle. The older, it's funny because while our mom introduced us to skincare when we were 8, we were Clinique fans until we were 20.
Oh my God.
Clinique. Was it also Clinique for you?
Yeah, because I think that it was, I don't know, maybe
Really
they
popular
had
in
the
Hong
biggest
Kong.
presence in Hong Kong at the time.
Possibly. And we didn't know much about it, but I didn't start caring about my skin until I was 20. And honestly, I recommend that no one should be putting a 10-step routine on their skin until you reach your 20s. Your skin is still developing, your skin is not mature. And I feel like now that we're 30, like I can finally, like I see fine line under my eye, I see wrinkles like here. And honestly, I think the best way is to nourish it internally as well as externally, but like drinking a lot of water, drinking a lot of teas, drinking a lot of warm foods, eating the herbs that we grew up with, jujube dates, goji berries, tremella mushroom, just eating a lot of whole foods that can nourish your skin, and lifestyle, but also cosmetic acupuncture.
Yeah, cosmetic acupuncture, but also sunscreen, right? Because when we think about what it is, sun is heat. Heat dries the nourishment we need. So how do we protect that? But cosmetic acupuncture is definitely a boost that works so well.
Can you talk more about that? I've recently been doing that. So I'm really bad with any of my facials or anything. And I literally had a mom come to me. So I've never done Botox, fillers, none of that stuff, right? But she comes to me and she goes, I'm pregnant and I can't do my Botox. She's like, I've been doing facial acupuncture and it's literally better than Botox. So I was just like, all
It
right, I have to
is.
try
It
that
is.
out.
Thank you. We
You
need
have
to
to
speak
get
to
this.
her. We need
You
to
have to get
speak to
this
her
correct because my mom really wants a great cosmetic acupuncture in Hong Kong.
in Hong Kong.
Yes, but
I
anyways,
know a great one.
oh my gosh, she would be so happy. But yes, cosmetic acupuncture, like what is it? So I always, at least in the Western world, you have to market it as, oh, it's alternative Botox. It's no tox. It literally does the same thing as Botox, but all natural. But again, it comes from Chinese medicine's understanding of increasing qi and blood flow to the face, because that's what longevity is. It's this movement of blood. It's this plumpness we want. So cosmetic acupuncture, especially on the face, it kind of the needles past the dermis, it gets a little bit deeper, and it almost sends a rush of inflammatory cells, right? The red blood cells to heal quicker. But it also increases collagen production. It also, when we target certain muscles, it lifts the face. So it's doing everything that fillers and Botox do, but naturally. It just takes time and consistency. But with it, like I've noticed my acne dissipating, everything lifting, fine lines dissipating, and also with all my patients, with the patients coming in for the whole 10-week treatment, it's transformative. Like I've even seen women with Bell's palsy where half their face was, somewhat frozen because of some viral infection before, where cosmetic acupuncture has helped all their wrinkles, but also lifted their face and create more symmetrical lines as well. It's really wonderful.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. And when you think of Botox, right, it's freezing your muscles versus cosmetic acupuncture that is flowing your blood, but yet they have the same effects. And what's more long term, it's cosmetic acupuncture versus constantly having to re-up on the Botox because your face stops freezing.
Yeah,
yeah.
but I mean, Botox is
Ultimately.
also a toxin, and there's so much research now showing, okay, it's a neurological toxin. It goes to your brain, and there's so many side effects. It creates more inflammation, especially if you have autoimmune issues or MCAS
Yeah.
issues. And now I've actually seen a lot of people with Botox poisoning coming into my clinic and with weird symptoms all across the board. Because again, Botox is not based off centuries or thousands of years of tradition, right? It's more of a modern science or tool to help lift the face. But all of the longevity research or based off people, it's now coming out that people are reacting to it after years and years of use.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. What about all these other trends that people are doing to their face? What are you, what are you hoping just doesn't exist anymore?
Like dunking your face in ice.
Yes, I think this is very controversial because, again, Western science associates it with great mental abilities for clarity, dopamine rush. It helps depuff the face. But again, what is it doing in the long run? It's going to make you feel better short term, right? It's going to wake you up. But in the long run, to your face specifically, it's going to hold everything and freeze everything in place and block that flow of qi and blood, which is longevity. But it's definitely conversation and controversial for sure.
I think there are all these different fads that people are into for 2 seconds, but you really don't realize how bad it can be over time because it's not time tested, right? A lot of these new fads that are quick fixes that work right then and there, but with TCM, you really need to be patient and you need to have the mentality that this is like a foundation of good health and long lasting health. I think that's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think going back to food as medicine, I think because that's just so important, right? What are you, as busy women, what are your favorite soups or teas that you would make that are your part of your dailies?
I think every night I drink a chrysanthemum and rose tea. Chrysanthemum because it's amazing for the skin, it's cooling and detoxing for the liver, it clears the heat, but it's not so cooling where it can affect your stomach because it actually, the trajectory and energetically goes to the liver. And rose boosts our blood as women, gives us energy. It's also great for face. That's something I drink probably at least like 5 or 6 times a week.
And it sounds very easy to make for anybody. And those are just such easy to get ingredients
Yeah.
as well.
We are big proponents of loose leaf tea instead of like packets of tea. And so Felice actually got me into buying, a tea holder where you can put loose leaf. And so we just buy a bunch of loose rose buds and chrysanthemum buds and kind of mix it in that formula. So you can kind of create your own concoction. Sometimes I put barley as well. I drink barley
Oh, I
tea a
love
lot as
that.
well.
That's so good.
And if I feel hot or, if I feel like I'm getting a sore throat, then I drink peppermint tea just to cool my system. It really depends, but I think Felice and I are very big into drinking teas every night and also lemon water every morning. And
Hot lemon
what we
water.
do in hot lemon water, yes, hot or warm, but what we do is that every morning, the first thing we do is boil a pot of hot water, cut a slice of lemon, and put this in a mug, and we drink that before doing anything else, before working
Yeah.
out, before eating, so that it stimulates your system
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's
to
so
help you wake
important.
up.
It's funny that when I go to hotel rooms in the States, there are no, like, I was like,
Tea
where's the
kettles.
kettle? I'm like,
Yeah.
how come there's no kettle? It's so weird. I was like, isn't that a basic? But apparently it's not.
I'm there with you. I know. I mean, it's so amazing. And just, I think the difference, and I mean, as you know, being in Hong Kong, everywhere you go, they serve you hot water or room temp water. There's no ice in anything. And you
Yeah.
come to the US and there's ice in everything. And I'm
Yeah.
that weirdo at a restaurant to be like, hey, can I order hot lemon water?
Yeah, they're
And
like, what?
they're always, very kind and they'll give me hot lemon water. But I'm okay with it. I'm just like, this is going to make my body feel so much better. I'm not going to bloat after even like a burger and fries because I'm activating my enzymes the way it's supposed to. I'm nourishing my, chi, my spleen and stomach before eating something heavy. It's all about balance and understanding how our bodies are truly supposed to be.
Yeah. And I think balance is what's most important, especially in today's world, right? You can't do, I think whatever works for your routine. You guys are always on the go, right? How do you have balance? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of my other questions is, for C beauty, right? I was talking to a friend and we always talk about K beauty, but I think C beauty over here, it's having its moment, right? And, can Chinese beauty be the next K beauty? What do you think?
100%.
I actually wrote a blog about this the other day on why there's still a big white space for Chinese beauty in the US. And there's a multitude of reasons. I think number one is that, first of all, Chinese beauty is very hard to understand because traditional Chinese medicine has to be digestible. And that's what we're here to do, right? We need to educate consumers about what C beauty is because it's not like K beauty. K beauty was created and ignited by K-pop stars and that K-pop culture. J beauty was from the innovations of the skincare. C beauty is based on thousands of years of medicine, right? So how can you create this trend that's not as easy to understand? So I think number one, there needs to be education. And number two, we believe that there needs to be that thought leader in the US to help push it forward. Right. So who can it be? It could be Felice as a doctor who is also an influencer to be able to share the powers of traditional Chinese medicine and share it on social media that's digestible. Right. So like her mission is to write a book, to be on more speaker panels, to just share this magic. Number two, three, I would say it's also Western consumers getting over that hump of the political ties between the US and China. I think that's really big. But I think now there is a trend where a lot of Westerners are now accepting Asian culture, and it started with K beauty, J beauty, Ayurvedic beauty. So Felice and I really believe that C beauty is the next K beauty. First of all, because it's so untapped, and there's a really big opportunity to grow. But I think the hard part about this is that C beauty doesn't really exist. So we're essentially creating a new market for US consumers. So how can we do that very thoughtfully, right? And there are TCM inspired brands that exist in the US and also exist in China, especially, but these markets are so bifurcated. There's a couple TCM inspired brands actually in Sephora in Hong Kong, but how can you enter these different markets? And that's why we're so focused in the US market and to educate these consumers. But long story short, we believe it will exist and we hope to be that brand that will democratize C beauty.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add, right? I mean, sea beauty can trend with also the acceptance of acupuncture. You know, and acupuncture is the fastest growing alternative medicine here in the US. So how can we capitalize on this understanding and, you know, people coveting this new way of holistic understanding and feeling better, you know, less about the band-aid solutions and more holistic health, and how can sea beauty and beauty be tied in with that? So it's definitely a very interesting time. I think it's here and it's coming.
Yeah, and I believe
Amazing. Yeah.
too, sorry, I have one more thing to add, but like Nuchi, for example, and Elix Healing, like these are all internal traditional Chinese medicine practices versus other traditional Chinese medicine inspired skincare brands that exist, like Yina, which we have been following for years. Like, I believe that we're in a space right now where we all have to work together to share this medicine because it doesn't really exist yet. So when we all cooperate as brands who share this medicine, then that growth will come together. Like we have to work together versus as competitors because there's so much opportunity.
Yeah, I love that. I think that there's so much we can do on the educational side and really come together because we're, I mean, we're a small brand. You guys are new. I mean, and Yina's been around for such a long time. And I feel like all together collectively, we can actually bring this knowledge and all this to the world, right? And to the US consumers. And I think along this journey, we're learning how to better distill, how to make it easier, right? What is the messaging on
Yeah.
that, right? Because even when I was stepping into Nucci, it was like, oh, these ingredients, there's so many, right? And it's so confusing. So how do we distill it even for somebody with background? You need to be able to be relatable, right? Yeah, because people's
Yeah,
time,
for
like
sure.
time and attention, they're like, wait, what? Why is it so confusing? I can just turn to Western, and it's just this, and it fixes me ASAP, right? So I think there's so much we can do, but
For
I
sure.
love that there's this modernity and there's this relatable now, right? That we can be part of that conversation, which I'm really
Yeah.
loving.
And I think that's going to be the biggest challenge, right? How to make it seem hip and cool, but not lacking the tradition, but not seeming old. I think that's why it takes a certain type of brand or founders or a team of founders, right, of all of us to really share that medicine, that makes it engaging and exciting. Yeah, very curious to see where this will go and where our brands will go in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. I'm super excited. Well, I love Moonbow and I love the look. And I think that you guys are definitely the ones to bring that sort of cool factor where people feel like they want to be part of it, right? And try it. And it feels super accessible. So I'm super excited for you guys.
Thank
And
you so
Thank
much.
for
you.
our audience, where can we find you?
So we actually share a lot of educational tips on our social media. Moonbow_skin on Instagram and on TikTok, and then former specific Chinese medicine. I share a lot on my channel, Dr. Felice Chan, but also most importantly, our website, where you can actually get the products is moonbowskin.com. Right now we sell in the US. We're definitely going to expand to the greater North America and also obviously Hong Kong one day, but we are month 3 of our launch. So we're still baby, but it's been amazing. Every part of the journey has been great.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys. I look forward to hanging out in person. I feel like there's so much we can chat about. So thank
Yes, we will
you.
bring you we will bring you Moonbow products when we come to Hong Kong. We have a bunch to bring
Amazing.
anyways for our family and our aunties and uncles and everyone, so we will be sure to give you some.
Yay, super excited. Thanks, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Nucci podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, we'd love your support. Leave us a rating, drop us a review, or share it with someone who'd enjoy it too. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode.